I want to get for a moment on the subject of gun violence. That segment in the debate where Herschel was asked about how to help curb the gun violence. He offered absolutely nothing of substance. Listen to this. Listen to what I wrote about Herschel, about gun control, gun violence, gun safety, and gun control.
Herschel Walker's approach to gun control and gun violence is a threat to Georgians' safety by Carol L. Folsom-Scott. The evidence doesn't lie, folks. Herschel Walker proves himself an avowed advocate for unrestricted gun ownership and hence unbridled gun violence. By now, we should have all heard enough evidence to know that this man is not someone who would take seriously the issue of public safety for Georgians. I like what Dr. Maya Angelou once said, "When people show you who they are, believe them the first time." In the recent Georgia debate against incumbent U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock, Walker asserted that any law or bill passed that'll affect anyone's Second Amendment, I'm not going to stand for and I won't support. His response in no way answered the moderator's question. Let the truth be told, not something Walker is apt to do, he never did propose any real solution to curbing gun violence in Georgia, with or without compromise to Georgians' Second Amendment rights. It should be abundantly clear to all Georgians, on the issues of gun control and gun violence, as with every other issue he has been questioned about, Herschel Walker continues to come up empty-handed. The way I see it, the right to bear arms should not translate to some carte blanche, blank check free-for-all where any and everybody can possess high-powered military-style weapons. I myself am not against citizens' right to bear arms. Women married to men like Herschel damn well better be packing. But I believe that within the parameters of that right, our lawmakers should most certainly be able to arrive at some common sense restrictions and guidelines for our gun laws, as well as strict consequences and enforcement thereof. Following the May 24th school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, Herschel was asked if he would support new gun laws in the wake of the shooting. His response? What I'd like to do is see it and everything and stuff. Seriously, bruh? It is my belief that Walker's personal history and public remarks reflect no real concern nor competency with gun control. Is his ex-wife Cindy Grossman's story alone not enough for Georgia voters? If not, allow me to take you back to Herschel's hometown and add my own. My family and I were gun violence witnesses, survivors, and victors of the 1980 Klan country terrorism in Herschel's beloved rural Wrightsville, Georgia. My older sister was 9, I was 7, my baby sis was 6, and my brother was 5. Mama and Daddy were a mid-30ish, middle-class couple. We were minding our own business, we young children playing in the living room on a Saturday night. Mama and Daddy were in the back room just having a normal couple's conversation. It was April 19th, 1980. Not even a month out from Herschel's Easter Sunday signing with UGA. There on Idlewild Road, just 4 miles or so from the Walkers' home on the same street, a pickup truck barreled down the road and shots rang out. Shotgun pellets peppered the exterior of our mobile home and then penetrated the inner walls. My older sister, just returning from the kitchen from getting light bread, walked smack dab into the line of fire. She was struck in the forehead, temple, chin, and neck. The sheer terror, pandemonium, anguish, and confusion that followed was something no child should ever witness. I remember it all like it was yesterday. Here 42 years later, and since then, I still get jolted out of my sleep from the shooting nightmares a few times each year. Immediately following the shooting, our family in little old bigoted Wrightsville was thrust into the newspaper headlines and television news broadcasts from one end of the country to the other. The racial upheaval that had been brewing for months, if not years, had come to a head. The marches, protests, and boycotts preceded the shooting, and they continued on well after. By the grace of God, my sister survived, as did we all. Occasionally, I'll read back through some of the news articles, remembering, reflecting, researching Wrightsville's history in an attempt to put it all together. We would learn many years later that Klansmen were apparently on a shooting spree that night. Ours was far from the only home of black residents that they shot at. Fast forward up to the present day. I'm okay with never having been able to find a 1980 story of Herschel Walker denouncing the shooting of my big sister, or that he never publicly condemned any aspect of the reign of terror, discrimination, and intimidation by Wrightsville's crooked then sheriff and his cadre of hate group supporters. Michael Cruz's Politico.com story from December 2021 mentioned classmates, teammates, even Coretta Scott King and Jesse Jackson calling on Herschel to take a stand against the injustices being exacted upon his fellow blacks in Wrightsville and around Georgia. Herschel ignored them all. To that end, what I'm not okay with is Herschel Walker's attempt to feign interest in serving the people of our great state. After 40-plus years of apathy and negligence of social concerns, a state that he has no record of significant socio-political investment in beyond his own personal interests? Nah. Southern and country we may be, but we're not that easy. Wait, scratch that. Obviously, a great many Georgians are that easy. See, my mind and my heart have tended to allow Walker the youth excuse as it regards Wrightsville's remnant civil rights movement of the early 80s. I don't particularly want to be judged today on decisions I made in my late teens either. But evidence to the contrary has forced me to see the real truth. Youth was no excuse at all. The same blind eye and deaf ear that 18-year-old Herschel turned to the racial turmoil in 1980 Wrightsville, 58-year-old Herschel also turned to MAGA's instigation of the January 6th insurrection in Washington. That unparalleled act of gun-wielding criminal trespass, treason, and tyranny championed by his friend, the former guy, clearly escapes Walker's Bible-thumping, scripture-quoting, I'm so Christianly convictions. I can think of more than a handful of Bible verses to condemn that lawlessness and attack on American democracy. But almost 2 years later, and now 60 years old, Herschel Walker is still mum on MAGA's ownership of that atrocity at the Capitol. In too many scenarios of gun violence and recklessness, Walker's silent complicity speaks so loud it's deafening. His penchant for disconnection, disengagement, and utter disregard for shooting victims, gun safety, and basic human rights are clearly nothing new. Still, I expect better from a man claiming he wants to represent this state. Why, I ask you, would Georgians consider this man a potential servant to the people when his alliances, ideologies, and personal behaviors neglect the safety of the people? As far as I'm concerned, y'all can have our homeboy hero. He's a dangerous threat to public safety for Georgians and to American democracy. I'm hedging my bets on Senator Warnock.